we're here to witness, to remember March 25th, 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. The women and men who died gave us a gift that they didn't suspect. Our lives are changed because of that. And like all stories, they begin with the literal. The conditions of the Ash building. It was occupied, it was built and occupied in 1901. By 1911, it had been around for 10 years because it was 10,000 feet on each floor. Imagine, there were 500 workers, 10,000 feet on each floor. It was required, maybe just suggested, that it have 3 stairways. But the builders said, no, it's all right, we have 2 and they're far apart. And the other thing was, there were no fire drills. A factory with 500 people and a fire, where will they go and how will they know how to go out in an orderly way? Let me read you something that was Section 80 in 1911. The state labor law required that factory doors, quote, shall be so constructed as to open outwardly where practicable and and shall not be locked, bolted, or fastened during working hours. The women and men lived, worked in a place that was crowded. They themselves had to sit and work in benches that had no exits. Huge benches with the machines in them that had no exits. They were very cumbersome and difficult to get around. They were not easily, you could not easily get up and move. Fire started on the 8th floor. It started on the 8th floor in the cutter's bin. The bins were loaded. The fire started in one of those cutter's bins. No one knows how or why. One of the women on the 8th floor said, oh, I smell smoke. I smell smoke. They looked around. She said, oh, look, fire coming right out from the cutter's benches. I mean, great big long tables. They weren't benches, tables. And there was fire coming out. Well, cutters all got water, and they buckets of water. But you see what happened was they used to put the patterns on hooks above their heads that were right along the line. Now, all of a sudden, the flames were so high, it picked up the patterns. They were now floating all over. They were little thin papers. They floated on the lawn. That fabric, that lawn, was so volatile. It was actually worse than paper. So immediately it caught. Things were happening fast. A young man came in with more water. They tried to get a hose. They tried to get it out. No go. When the women went and they saw the fire and they started jumping up, remember, no fire drills, nothing. They went to the door and they went to the Washington Place door to open it. It was locked. They couldn't get out. When the production manager came to try to help them, the door, because they wanted more space in the factory for more machines, etc., did not go out. It went in. The women who were pushing and the men who were pushing forward to get out the door closed the door. There was no exit there. It was not a good way of getting out. Others had gone to the Green Street exit. Now that exit was easier, was closer to them. Rose Goulot went out that way. She was the floor lady. She had said, okay, we're going to get down. They tried to get down, but within minutes, the flames were so high that it was practically impossible to get through it. The air, the smoke, and it was in minutes. Everything was burning. The trim, the wood trim around the windows, women started going to the windows themselves, trying to get air, trying to get out, and everybody said, we'll be here because the firemen will come up. They will come get us. The ladders will come. When the fire chief came, they put up the ladders, and it didn't go far enough. Inside, when the manager with the hoses Nothing worked. The flames, the smoke were so tremendous they couldn't breathe or even move further. They waited for the elevator. They went up and down, Gasper and Josillo, and they went up and down 8 or 9 times. The 10th floor was able to get out because one of the staircases went to the roof. And the people there had the advantage of going up to the roof. When the 8th floor caught like that, the 9th floor didn't know because no one had sent the message to the 9th floor. It happened that the switchboard operator was sick that day. The 9th floor had a terrible thing happen. They didn't know where to go because their Washington Place door was also locked. They went to the fire escape and they were able to get out, but then there were so many of them on that fire escape. And the fire escape was not easy to get down. A young man who had been running down the stair, he saw his chance when he saw that the 6th floor had a window. He broke it, went in, and when his one foot was in the door and the other on the fire escape, he looked above and the whole fire escape fell with all the women down. The professor and his students at NYU helped get ladders on the 10th floor to help them. But who was going to help the people who were left on the 9th floor? The women who had nowhere to go. There was no fire escape. You're going to hear what happened at the windows. The fire escape was no good. One door was locked, and it remained locked, by the way. No one could open it, that particular one. They had only the elevators, and they went up and down with those 2 brave guys who were elevator operators until they couldn't anymore. The fire was so tremendous behind them that the women standing at the elevator shafts stood there. What were they to do? A few actually jumped for cables. One said, I had my 3 children, I couldn't not do something. She went on the top of a cable. Another one slid down, and they moved aside. One of them was riding down when the firemen were there trying to help. They had put hoses and were watering it at this point, but it was almost over. The whole thing was over in less than half an hour. The woman on the elevator top who had gotten down with holding the cable, these were open nets in the elevators, she saw a fireman. He said, keep going, you're all right. And she said, look. But she said later, I couldn't explain to him that all the women above were on fire and about to fall into the elevator.